words about how it works. It's first of all, it's a preparative and industrial chromatography technique. So it's made for preparative and industrial application. It's not an analytical chromatography. It utilizes a biphasic solvent system. So you have to have two non-miscible phases, one of which you're going to use as a stationary phase, and the other is going to be your mobile phase. So your stationary phase is going to be liquid as well. So, and then the separation and elution of the compounds is based on partition between the two liquid phases. So it's a completely different mechanism than column chromatography that utilizes solid stationary phases as we know them. The stationary phase, although liquid, it is maintained inside the column by applying a centrifugal field, so by the G effect. And the mobile phase percolates through the stationary phase. There is various parameters that you can play with, let's say, and you can define, and then these will define actually your result, your quality of separation, your resolution, as we call it in chromatography. And there is numerous solvent systems, biphasic solvent systems that one can use, and chromatographic modes. All this makes it a very versatile technology. Most of the applications, as I said, FCPC was not invented for the cannabinoids, but it applied very well in the cannabinoids world. There is a few scientific publications on that, and that prove the concept of purifying cannabinoids with FCPC, but it was invented way before someone tried to purify cannabinoids with this technique. So most of the applications concern natural compounds from herbal extract. Like more than 80% of these applications are natural products. Then there is a good number of applications on active pharmaceutical ingredients, mainly from synthetic mixtures, and then biomolecules like DNA and proteins, etc. So the biotech world, and a few applications on rare earth elements, and very few other applications. So it has traditionally mainly been used in the natural compound purification. The advantages over other chromatography techniques like column chromatography or flash or HPLC is that there is no solid packing material like silica or resin or dial or whatever. So you don't have any solid packing material that you'll have to dispose at a certain moment. And of course to buy new, and then that generates of course high OPEX. There is a high stationary phase ratio in the column compared to a classic chromatographic column that uses silica, for instance. So there is a high field of exchange, one might say. There is no sample loss due to reversible adsorption, because actually there is no solid stationary phase, so you can completely recover the stationary phase at the end of your batch and recover everything that has stayed and has not eluted, has stayed inside. So that allows you to recover practically virtually 100% of what you have injected. So that applies very much in the cannabis world, because many people are interested to produce THC-free extract, so extract in which you have knocked out the THC. So actually, practically to do this, you have to purify THC, to knock it out, and then to recombine your other fractions, usually rich in CBD. Also, there's no denaturation of sensitive compounds. This happens when you have solid stationary phase and like silica, and then there's chemical interaction between some compounds and the silica. You have a high throughput capacity. This is mainly due to the fact that you have a high stationary phase ratio in the column. On the contrary to one might believe, there is a very moderate solvent consumption, and usually a part of it is water, depending on the application, of course. You can use FCPC with a wide range of polarities, so you can do normal phase and reverse phase in one same column, in this very same column, just by exchanging actually the direction of the flow, and then by exchanging which phase will be remain stationary by the centrifugal field, and which one will be percolating through by being pumped through the stationary phase. And there is an easiness and a predictability in the scale up. So speaking mainly of natural compounds, it's a very wide application range. So a lot of applications have been developed either in lab or industrial scale, and these concern a wide range of polarities. So from very apolar compounds like lipids, like terpenes, like sterols, like phospholipids, etc., through medium polarity compounds like polyphenols, alkaloids, etc., and down to very polar products like proteins, peptides, etc. This is because actually there is almost an infinity of biphasic solvent systems, from very apolar to very polar. So that meaning from even non-aqueous biphasic solvent systems to aqueous two-phase systems. But of course, the majority of the biphasic solvent systems that we use is in the middle. So it's there's usually an organic layer and an aqueous layer. Equipment, as I mentioned before, from lab scale to industrial scale. So it goes from a very small, like milligram scale to kilogram scale, and you use the milligram or the gram scale in order to develop a method and optimize it, and then the large scale for production. So our columns, in terms of volume, go from 25 ml to 10 liter volume, and this allows us to work with different quantities. So heavy intellectual property based on FCPC technology. So there is more than 500 scientific publications and announcements with Kromaton FCPC only. So that represents, of course, the majority. Kromaton represents the majority of CPC instruments in the academic and industrial area. So many classes of compounds, as I mentioned before, cannabinoids are among these compounds, and some scientific publications have come to the light. So